It's about the restoration of our republic. We want to educate, encourage, enable the power. We stand for integrity, honesty, self-reliance, self-defense, and most importantly, no compromise on our foundational principles. This is America's Voice Now.
Find America's Voice Now on Facebook and at americasvoicenow.org. Here's Michael Evans.
Good morning, America. You're listening to America's Voice Now. My name is Mike Evans. I'll be your host today. We've got a group of topics that we're going to address this morning, not the least of which is some very curious things are happening in the annals of immigration and ICE. And, you know, one of the problems that we have with the Immigration and Border Patrol system is that while many of the people in Border Patrol are actively attempting, and ICE, by the way, for the same, and they're two separate groups, Immigrations and Customs Enforcement is ICE. And while these people are captured coming across the border or picked up while they're here, there's a new report out this morning that shows a stunning, and I do mean stunning, number of individuals who in 2013 were released after committing murder, rape, child molestation, sexual offenses, aggravated assault, murder, drug convictions, kidnapping. 36,000 of them. Plus another 60,000. That means we have 96,000 immigrants, illegal immigrants, illegal aliens, not undocumented, illegal alien immigrants running around who have been accused and convicted of crimes that, with all due respect, you wouldn't get away with. How can anyone justify this based upon the race or the national origin of a criminal? When has any president and his entire administration and an entire segment of the population acted so opposite to the safety and the well-being of their own nation? How can you justify releasing murderers, rapists, child molesters onto our streets based solely upon their country of national origin? No native-born American would get away with this kind of treatment. How can it be explained? How can it be justified? There is not a single rational, logical defense for any of these actions. Period. End of argument. No discussion to be had. Any person in ICE or Border Patrol, Department of Homeland Security, Department of Justice, or any of these other three-letter curse word agencies, any of them who would just continue to say, hey, I was just doing my job. I'm just doing what I'm told to do. It's my job. I got to tell you something. You're not following orders. Our answer to that excuse is clear. No, you're not just doing your job. You're committing an act of treason. Our second segment is going to talk about the Chamber of Commerce, who's given an immigration ultimatum. I mean, who the hell these people think they are? Immigration or else? Or else what? How is it that Tom Donahue, the head of the United States Chamber of Commerce, which represents all of these megalithic monsters, the Googles and the Yahoos and the AOLs of the world, the Microsofts of the world, who are demanding immigration, Not because they need talented, skilled help. We've got 50% of the people in the United States who are American-born citizens graduating with advanced technology degrees, and they can't get a job. So I don't buy the argument. What it is a reason to pressure the income down and cut their wage cost and meet their Agenda 21 utopian progressive fantasy of a world without borders. But, Donahue is coming out screaming. Why is he so manic? I mean, the guy sounds and looks scared. Kind of like a guy who's been paid to accomplish a job and has failed. You ever see the movie where the guy gets in front of the mob boss and the mob boss says, "Hey, I want you to know, you took the money, and failure for you, it just ain't an option. We don't accept no failure here. Got it?" When a politician or some bought and sold scumbag like Tom Donahue, who allegedly represents industry in the United States of America, gets this strident, this adamant, this effusive about a situation which, quite frankly, doesn't affect him at all. What effect does this issue of immigration have on Tom Donahue? I mean, he can't be that desperate for a gardener. He can't be that desperate for a live-in nanny. So why the irrational approach? There can only be one reason, America, one. And it ain't patriotism or love of country. Our third segment. The coal rules the EPA is injecting into industry will be the final straw that will cause the exposed bankruptcy of America. Why do I say exposed? Because, to be honest with you, we're already bankrupt. But when industry starts collapsing because they can't afford the electric bills to keep a mill or a power plant or their generation system or whatever it is that powers their manufacturing facilities, what few we actually have left, and millions upon millions of more Americans find themselves out of a job, then it will be obvious to everyone. We've got American Spring, which is supposed to be launching this Friday. And it's been interesting because, the mainstream media has been deathly silent. I mean crickets type of deathly silent. Will millions of Americans show up in D.C.? Even the alternative media has been silent about it. We're going to talk about it tomorrow because I think it's an issue that deserves attention. I haven't pushed it very heavily, and I'm going to explain to you why tomorrow. But I've got to tell you, ladies and gentlemen, with or without American Spring, we're done. Our options are over. There are only 4 ways in which a nation can defend its freedom. They can do so on a soapbox. Ergo, moi. They can do so with a ballot box. But we know that that is ineffective. They can do so with a jury box. But we know that the Department of Justice and the entire court system has been just as corrupted as the executive and as the legislative. So we have 4 choices. The final one is the cartridge box. We have 4 choices. And it looks like basically 3 of them, we've exhausted their opportunity to function correctly. Our 4th topic or segment, Freedom of Information Act, and how it has become a joke. You see, in a banana republic, which is essentially where we now are, and you should begin to refer to this nation as a banana republic, because that's what we have become. There's an article I posted up on our site this morning. Hedge fund titans test the quality of U.S. democracy. Well, I beg to differ. The test, ladies and gentlemen, is over. Financial Times may think there's some kind of a contest still happening here, but I got to tell you, the hedge fund titans and the multi-billionaires of the world have already proven that they can usurp all the power that they want with money. Everything is for sale, and I do mean everything. Everyone who is in a policy-making, decision-making position has been corrupted by money. They're all sold out. There's not a single one of them that's worthwhile talking to. None. I mean, I get it. We had high hopes for people like a Ted Cruz even then. So what are you going to do about it, America? You're going to stand around and continue to let things descend and degrade? You're going to wait for them to tell you to get into a train car for delivery to your next job assignment? All right, let's get on to our first topic. I'm so... You know what's really bothering me today, ladies and gentlemen? The fact that I come out here 5 days a week. I spend at minimum 8 to 10 hours a day between the review and the documentation that needs to be done in order to provide a program like this and be educated enough about what's going on in the world to be able to expound on it with you. And you see me for an hour, but that doesn't count for the 4 hours before that we're done doing research and posting this and writing that and all of this other nonsense. Then afterwards, there's an hour or so's worth of cleanup and uploading and posting so that nobody can see it on YouTube. Blocked. My views the other day, I watched literally as I clicked on a video and it said there were 40 views on it an hour after I'd uploaded it. I hit refresh and it had gone down to 31. Explain to me how that's possible. Explain it. What bothers me is the fact that for all the time and all the effort and all the money I've spent to bring this show to a point where it would educate the masses to what's happening around us, there are no masses. I can't get the word out. I've done everything in my power. I've done the best I could do. I've spoken. I've sat there and indicted. I've shown empirical, documented proof over and over and over and over and over. I've pled with the jury to see the truth. I've indicted the criminals. I've shown you their faces. I've shown you their crimes. I've shown you the evidence. I've shown you the bloody murder weapons. I've shown you the plots. I've shown you the written plans. And I'm beginning to believe it's time I rest my case. ICE has released, in 2013 alone, some 96,000 immigrants convicted of nearly 88,000 crimes, including homicide, sexual assault, kidnapping, rape. There's a document issued out by the Center for Immigration Studies. 193 homicide convictions, including the murder of a public official. Makes you wonder why public officials would be so desperate to allow these criminals to roam our streets. It's all to keep us safe, isn't it? Isn't that the argument we've been hearing for a decade now? It's all about keeping you safe. We're imprisoning you. We're putting you behind a wall. We're monitoring your messages that have to be slid underneath the door to our review. We look at your mail. We look at and we listen to your phone calls. We watch you on camera to keep you safe. It's all about you. That's what your tyrant keeps telling you. And you sit in your jail cell and you believe this BS. Meanwhile, 96,000 illegal immigrants who shouldn't have the same rights as your brother, your cousin, your sister, your mother, your father, your child are roaming the streets, guilty of crimes which should be abhorrent to any society. And they're freed. Why? Because of their ethnic origin? I mean, since when did ethnic origin qualify as a get-out-of-jail-free card? How? Where? Where is it written that because you're born in country X, Y, and Z, you're entitled to a get-out-of-jail-free card? You're entitled to run around, rape, and pillage the neighborhoods, to commit crimes against humanity. Was your wife, your daughter, one of the raped or murdered? Will you agree then that immigration's a good thing? $68,000 criminals. This is from a report in March. This is an internal document that was prepared by ICE to respond to a congressional inquiry. And the CIS got a hold of it, Center for Immigration Studies. 68,000 criminal aliens ICE encountered were subsequently released in 2013. That is on top of an additional 36,007 criminal aliens spelled out in a brand new internal document separate from the original 68,000. So I'm sorry, I apologize. It's not 96,000. It is 104,000. The report says, these figures suggest that despite claims of a focus on public safety, the administration's prosecutorial discretion criteria are allowing factors such as family relationships, political considerations, or attention from advocacy groups to trump criminal convictions as a factor that leads to deportation. These 36,000 people were already being processed for deportation. And they were released either before or after their cases came up. Convicted of a crime, rape, murder, drunken driving, assault, child molestation. You're convicted. You're not imprisoned. You're not deported. You're released back into society to commit more mayhem, more crime. Interestingly, ICE won't comment. Won't comment. You released 104,000 criminals into our midst? I don't care how you want to spin this. I don't care how you want to argue the point. I don't care what you can say. I don't care whether you say, well, the numbers don't really mean that. If it was only 1,000, you're guilty of treason. When we come back, I'm going to actually read you the full list of the crimes. I mean, it's stunning. I mean, some of these are traffic offenses, granted. But 50, that's not driving under the influence traffic. 15,635 convictions for driving under the influence out of 100,000. That's 15%, folks. Does 15% of America get busted for DUI in 1 year alone? But they're all good people, we're told. They really are just here to make a living for their families. Really? Doing what? Joining the 9,187 who were busted for dangerous drugs? You mean the 10%? We're going to take a break. You're listening to America's Voice now. When we come back, we're going to read through the list. And we're going to try to understand how and where and why and under what circumstances Americans should not stand up and openly revolt against this lying, treasonous abuse. And who and where is the Chamber of Commerce to demand more of this? John Boehner, his entire crew up there, trying to figure out how to get it past you before November. I'm telling you, America, it's all fallen down. The only difference is you haven't been hit in the head by a brick yet. But I don't know what you're waiting for.